Today, all new.
Pam Grier,
Betty Ann Waters,
Rev Run, Education to Women who work behind bars.
The electronic cigarette.
3 graduating seniors who are moving on.
But how do you say goodbye?
In the special edition of the Met Report,
Next.
what a year it's been. Welcome to this edition of the Met Report. I'm Andie Kustura.
And I'm Antoinette Martin. If you missed the exclusive interview with the Met Report's Peter Aragon and Rev Run, we got it again for you. Rev Run came to campus this year to talk about his experiences and to shed some light on student life. Take a look.
The Rary Event Center was the site for one of the most anticipated speakers to come to this campus. The crowd quickly filled in, and while they waited, they were treated to dancing from the Hip Hop Congress and music from a DJ. But after a while, it was time for the man everyone had been waiting for.
I'm not going to even hold this party up. DJ, let's hook it up.
I'm the king of...
Let's welcome Reverend Ron.
Began by discussing how Run got into the game of hip-hop.
It's amazing. He's putting on parties and stuff, and I always said to him, you know, when I get older, I want to be down too. So I started DJing for Curtis Blow, and we kind of evolved into our own group. I pulled DMC in, and I always kept telling Jay, he was kind of the real thug of the group. I kept saying, I want you to be the DJ.
After I was able to sit down with Rev Run and discuss how he felt about all of the new rappers.
It's exciting just watching the poets. You know, I'm loving Eminem, and his album was just so amazing. And Diggy just shocked me. He's on the cover of XXL for the freshman edition. So the whole thing is just it's mind-boggling watching all these great MCs.
Most recently, Rev had a TV show on MTV. In fact, it was the quickest picked-up show in MTV history. Rev talked about how the show was just not about the Rolls Royce and b-ball court. I'm sure it helped, but to him it was about the love that his family had for each other and a little something else.
So seriously, but at the end of the day, my message is you can be a guy on MTV with a collar on his neck that sits in a tub and sends out words of wisdom and still get respect.
After Rev was done, the crowd gave him a deserving round of applause. Peter Aragon, The Met Report.
Thanks, Peter. Now, Rev Run wasn't the only celebrity on campus this year. Pam Grier, an alumni of Metro State, was this year's Metro State's Bridge speaker. She talked about everything from being a breast cancer survivor to setting the scene for Black female actresses. Take a look. Success. It's one of the things that we all strive for here at Metro State. Pam shared her insight about becoming a successful woman of color in cinema.
Today I stand before the future, and I am reminded how far we've come as ladies of liberty.
In the 70s, Pam Grier became the African it girl after starring in the classic Foxy Brown. It wasn't until Pam became an actress that she understood the true power of female sexuality.
I was a wet t-shirt queen, and all the while trying to maintain my dignity and keep my eyes on the prize of opening doors for other Black actresses, who up to this point were maids, mammies, and minstrels.
Her roles as sex symbols revolutionized women's roles in cinema and also Black films. There was a surge in Black exploitation films, giving Black actors a chance to be superheroes, a thought that was unheard of prior to this.
My name's Carpenter. This is the end of your rotten life, you dope pusher.
Her tough role came to real life when she was given 18 months to live and was diagnosed with cancer. She outlived the term and says that the most important lesson that she has learned,
that I wake up and I'm breathing. When I wake up and I'm breathing, I'm going to have a good day. The bar has been raised, so that's all I ask for, is to wake up. So many of my friends, young and old, don't wake up. And then when you wake up and you have such gratitude for such a journey, it moves you forward.
Metro students, be aware, in addition to the expected tuition increase, there will also be a parking lot fee increase that will go into effect on July 1st. Parking lots K, D, C, R, G, I, L, and M will increase by 25 cents, and Lot E will increase by 50 cents. All other parking lots will remain at their current price. Parking fees help fund infrastructure projects such as general classroom improvements, roof repairs, emergency telephones, and classroom repairs. One of my favorite people who visited Metro this year is Betty Ann Waters, the woman who went back to college to free her wrongly convicted brother from prison. Truly remarkable. Watch this.
Even when I'm faced with difficult situations, I can always find something to smile about.
An inspiring story of perseverance, faith, and family.
In 1980, I got a phone call one day that my neighbor was murdered.
One call changed this family forever. Kenneth Waters was wrongfully convicted for the murder of Katerina Brau in 1983. Kenny Waters struggled while in prison. He tried to end his life early.
The promise that if I went back to school, he would stay alive.
Betty Ann explains how she got through.
Kenny had more faith in me than I could ever have in myself.
Hollywood jumped on the bandwagon and decided to make a motion picture. The movie Conviction is based on Waters' true story of proving her brother's innocence after a long 18-year ordeal.
I didn't even think there was going to be a movie. Like I said, my brother was the one that was like, oh, there's going to be a movie. I'm like...
We contacted the victim's daughter, Melrose Brau, on her thoughts of her mother's case. She declined an interview. Brau created a blog where she states that the movie only tells one side of the story. This blog was created to invite your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So, what is Waters' message to young people?
If you focus and put one foot in front of the other and just keep, your eye on the end result, I think you can always get there, no matter what it is, and things happen along the way. You just have to go over the hurdle and just keep going.
Education opportunities are all around us here on the Aurora campus. There is one program that brings hope and education to women who are behind bars. Reporter Kate Christensen has more.
Most of us are familiar with TV courtroom dramas that show criminals being tried and prosecuted. But what happens to those criminals after they're behind bars? Today we take a look at the Denver Women's Correctional Facility at a program that offers hope for a life after prison through education.
Educators have been forming programs like this all around the country. So there are now programs like this in all 50 states. Our little side of it is that we run a class on the UCD campus where we teach students about prisons and social justice.
Professor Hartnett runs the program with 8 tutors.
The women coming into my classroom were truly just students, and they're as thirsty for knowledge as any other student that you would meet.
But what does this education truly provide?
In a big sense, for me, the program is a way to offer the lifeline of hope.
When you start teaching in the prison, you don't focus specifically on someone's crime because they're my students. I refer to them by their name. One of the women actually discovered the facet of her identity that was a student throughout the semester.
The federally funded program offers women the chance to educate themselves before they are released.
You do get out and you see them on the street, and you see them with their families or with their friends, and it's just so nice to see them wearing clothes that aren't uniforms. So yeah, that's delightful when they do that. Flip side of that is that a lot of my students come from very hard places, and when they do get out of prison, I'd say at least half of them pretty quickly fall back into either a gang life or a kind of street existence that's based on drugs and poverty. And that's...
For the Met Report, I'm Kate Christensen.
Twice a year, volunteers who teach at Denver's Women's Prison help inmates publish their own writing. If you are interested in becoming a volunteer, contact Dr. Harnett at the Department of Communication at the University of Colorado. His email address is steven.harnett@ucdenver.edu.
It's a new wave in smoking that has taken the world by storm. Electronic cigarettes have become popular all across the country, and especially with smokers looking for alternatives, but do they help you quit? Met reporter Lisa Gennaro has more.
Now, we all know that smoking's bad for our health. We also know it can be one of the hardest habits to kick. Most people know about the different methods used for quitting smoking, but within the last few years, a new invention has slowly been making its way onto the market.
The premise of the electronic cigarette is pretty simple.
They're designed to deliver nicotine in a vapor form. The tube-shaped battery-powered device was made to mimic both the look and the mechanics of an actual cigarette. Makers claim benefits include no smell, more cost-effective, and that they're a healthier alternative because they lack the carcinogens found in real cigarettes. Although they've only been available for just a few years, we found several Metro students already using the e-cigarette.
I have tried it, didn't like it. It's not the same as a real cigarette.
I don't believe in a safe alternative to cigarettes. I believe that there's nicotine, and if you want your fix, you're going to get it. And if you want to quit it, then just, you got to drop it.
But I found that it's not really good for quitting smoking. It's better for, it seems like a better alternative. I can smoke anywhere, and it doesn't seem as damaging to your health. Actions are exactly the same. You're still smoking something. You're just not smoking a cigarette. I don't think it's a method to quit smoking. I think it's an alternative maybe, and I think it definitely could last as an alternative.
Legally, none of these companies can advertise the e-cigarette as anything more than just an alternative to real cigarettes as opposed to a tool for quitting smoking. But it definitely seems to be what's being implied to the public after we spoke with students. Now, electronic cigarettes have not yet been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. There are also no significant studies on the effectiveness of the e-cigarette when used as a method of quitting smoking. And a few weeks ago, the FDA issued 5 companies warnings for unsubstantiated claims and poor manufacturing practices. So it looks like for now, both the safety and the practicality of the e-cigarette as a smoking cessation tool is still up in the air. I'm Lisa Gennaro.
Just last week, the FDA announced that they will now be regulating the manufacturing of e-cigarettes. So very interesting. I'm so curious to see how much more popular those cigarettes become on campus.
I agree with you. I think I saw somebody in my math class smoking one.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of those.
This past week marked the release of the 29th annual Metrosphere, a literary magazine filled with literary pieces and artwork, all by Metro students. This was the 3rd year that the Metrosphere held its release party. It was held in the Tivoli, and you could pick up a copy of the magazine along with food and drinks, but it's not too late. You can still pick up a copy in the student media office. That's Tivoli 313. And it's free to all students, staff, and alumni. Just show them your student ID.
Osama bin Laden, the terrorist that is held largely responsible for the terrorist acts of 2001, has been brought to his demise. President Obama said U.S. intelligence operatives received a tip in August on bin Laden's whereabouts, which ultimately led to the attack. Since the operation, there has been much controversy surrounding the death of bin Laden. The body was buried at sea, which has received criticism, but the concerns that a grave could become a shrine was not something U.S. officials wanted to deal with.